In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. From heaven thou didst receive grace divine, and with lips thou dost teach us all, with thy lips, to worship the one God in Trinity. O all blessed and holy John Chrysostom, worthily do we praise thee, for thou art indeed a teacher, who dost reveal the things divine. In this presentation, I'll share my own translations of several of the most dramatic moments in the homilies of St. John Chrysostom, when he especially reveals his heart of love for his flock, such as when he does so exuberantly in seeing them exceptionally demonstrating their devotion to Christ, or with lament when he sees they're not living in full dedication and obedience to Christ and to his holy precepts. I believe these passages can help us all to connect in a more deeply heartfelt way with this tremendously important saint in our church, as well as giving us a taste of the profound love that all the saints have for us, love which can stir all our hearts and which can help in bringing those outside our holy church into our midst. I also believe that these passages can inspire our clergy to strive to have this kind of love, burning love for their parishioners, and to have the confidence to express their love for their people in appropriate ways, even when a hard word is necessary, founded in that love, yes, as St. John Chrysostom did, as well as inspiring the laity to love our clergy with the kind of intensity with which his flock loved him. Do we strive, we so-called academics, we who quote the fathers a lot, right? Which is so great, right? But do we also strive to get to know them as people? Do we have, as St. John of Kronstadt would say, do we have the most lively spiritual union with the saints? He says very strongly, in order to make spiritual progress, it is urgently necessary for us to be in the most lively spiritual union with the saints. So this is a chance to get to know one of our saints better. One idea that I've been trying to do more recently is before the icons, to linger, let's say, and sense their presence, right? Are they present in our icons? The saints, right? Who's depicted? Yeah? Spiritual power in the icons, sensing their presence, sensing their love for us, and of course, asking, right, for their guidance and insights. So I'm going to read first from this book of 9 sermons, all from his life that he preached at especially dramatic moments in his life. And let's be open to getting to know him as a person, how he responds to especially dramatic moments in his life. So the first one here is upon his return from Asia. Now he is in Constantinople as the Archbishop, and he started there in 398. This is only 4 years of ministry then he's had with them at this point. He had to go down to Ephesus, quite a ways to the south, on church business. Took him longer than he thought. How typical is that, right? So this is the springtime of 402, the year 402. He has to miss all of first week of Lent, all of Great Lent, Holy Week, Pascha, maybe into as far as Pentecost. He has to miss all that. He's back in June, and this is what he's saying to his flock. If I did forsake you for a while, it was not out of contempt for you, but to enhance your riches. For the things that were said aright through me, or rather through grace. Anything that was, accomplished there in Ephesus had to be done. While I was away, those things redound as a crown for you. This is why I'm rejoicing, leaping for joy, flying with pleasure. Yes, I'm rejoicing, but I cannot explain how great my joy is. What then is to be done? So that you may learn how great is my joy. I summon your conscience as witness, for you know from what you have experienced upon seeing me, how it is with me, being convinced by the very sight of me. For if, for you, the appearance of just one man has caused such delight for so many people, how much more delight is being aroused in my soul through my beholding so many people whom I love. And the Greek word there is from the word pothos, an ardent love. For with Jacob, the sight of just one man, his son Joseph, brought such joy that the old man was rejuvenated, while with me, I have beheld not just one man, but a myriad of men, one after another, indeed the entire populace. It's on account of these things that I rejoice, that I have received back, he says, my paradise. Wow. And then he says, it's a paradise here better than the one of old. For there, the serpent was present, setting snares. While here, Christ is instructing us in the mysteries. There, Eve was working deception. Here, the church is being crowned. There, Adam was deceived. Here, the populace is being publicly proclaimed. And what is astonishing, this garden, it not only protects its plants, but transforms them. For if I find a thistle, I work it into a grapevine. And if I find an olive tree that's not bearing fruit, I work it into a fruit-bearing tree. Such is the nature of the soil here. Because of all this, I rejoice and leap for joy. But just because I'm rejoicing does not mean I will skip over my defense for my absence. He's got to get around to explaining what took him so long. And then he says, so, beloved, since I was away for such a long time, receive my defense. Okay, but first he says this. If you had sent a slave somewhere, would you not demand an account from him upon his return, asking, where did you spend your time? Where did you squander so much time? So then he says, I too am a slave to your love for me. You purchased me, not by casting down silver, but by showing forth your love, agape. I rejoice in this slavery. May I never be loosed from it. For this slavery is better than a crown. This slavery procures for me the kingdom of heaven. This slavery is better than freedom. This slavery prepares for me a throne at the last judgment. And this slavery is not a matter of compulsion, but of free choice. Yeah, you all chose to love me, he's saying. Who would not gladly serve you as a slave, since you are such mad lovers? If I had a heart of stone, you have made it softer than wax. What can I say about the love you have demonstrated? The mania, the frenzy of yesterday, the shouting in the marketplace. That's when he first arrived, from his 3 months away in the marketplace. You sanctified the air. You made the city a church. I was held in honor, yet it was God who was welcomed. Heretics were put to shame. The church was crowned. You were publicly acclaimed. For it's smooth sailing for the church when the root is bound with the branches, when the shepherd dwells securely with his flock. The next passage is from one of his homilies on 1 Corinthians. commenting on this verse, 1 Corinthians 15:58. Wherefore, brethren, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. He says, what are you saying, Paul? Must we labor even more? Yes, and your labors here will be followed by crowns in heaven. Therefore, let us not sleep, my beloved, for it cannot be that anyone by sloth should attain the kingdom of heaven, and neither will those who lead a luxurious and pampered life. For it's a very precious thing, through stretching ourselves and subduing the body and enduring a multitude of toils, to procure those heavenly good things. Do you not see how vast is the distance between heaven and earth, and how great is the warfare at hand, and how prone man is to doing evil, and how easily sin besets us, and how plentiful are the snares in the way? Why then do we draw upon ourselves so many cares and concerns beyond what life naturally demands of us, thus giving ourselves more troubles, making our burden that much greater? Is it not enough for us to have to care about our food and clothing and housing? Is it not enough for us to have to take thought about necessary things? Yet even from these things, Christ relieves us, saying, be not anxious for your life, what you shall eat, neither for your body, what clothing you shall put on. So if no one should be anxious about necessary food and clothing, or even about the future at all, St. John is saying, when and how will those be able to emerge who bring upon themselves so great a mass of rubbish, bearing themselves under it? These superfluous cares, he would say. Have you not heard Paul saying, no soldier in service entangles himself in the affairs of this life? Yet we live luxuriously, eating and drinking to excess, and allowing ourselves to be knocked around by superfluous earthly things, but for the things of heaven we are soft and slack. And furthermore, don't you realize that the promise of heaven is beyond merely human attainment? It cannot be that one who is only attentive to earthly things should ascend to the archways of heaven. Yet we don't even endeavor in our earthly affairs to live like men. Instead, we've become worse than irrational beasts. Do you not understand what a tribunal we will stand before at the last day? Do you not bear in mind that we will have to give an account even for our words and thoughts? Yet we don't even take heed about our deeds. For the Lord says, he who looks upon a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her. Yet those who will be held accountable for a mere glance do not refuse to lie rotting in the sin itself. And also, whoever says to his brother, you fool, shall be cast into hellfire. Yet we dishonor our brethren with 10,000 reproaches, and we plot against them craftily. Furthermore, Jesus says, he who loves those who love him is no better than the heathen. Yet we even envy our brothers. What pardon shall we have then at the last day, when as Christians we are called to pass beyond the moral laws of the Old Testament, and yet we weave here a thread of life for ourselves at even a lower standard than those? What plea shall raise us up in that day? Who will stand up to help us as we are being punished? There will be no one. Rather, we shall be led away, wailing and mourning and gnashing our teeth, unto torture in that rayless gloom, where no prayer can avert the pangs, where the punishments cannot be avoided. Wherefore I entreat and beseech you, I lay hold on and cling to your knees, so that while we still have a slight hold upon this present life, you would be pricked in your hearts by what I've said, that you would repent, that you would become better, that we may not, like that rich man, lament in vain after our departure from this life, and that we may not be left to endless wailing beyond any remedy. Even if you have a father or a son or a friend or anyone who has confidence towards God, none of them shall be able to rescue you then. For your own works will have betrayed you. Such is that tribunal. We are judged there by our actions alone. There we will be saved by nothing else except our own good works. These things I say not to grieve you, not to throw you into despair, but to make sure that you are not harboring vain and cold hopes, placing confidence in this person or that, and neglecting to attend to your own efforts to grow in virtue. For if we are slothful, there will be no righteous man, no prophet, no apostle, or anyone else to stand by us. But if we are zealous for doing good, our own good works will provide sufficient advocacy for us. And we shall depart from this life with boldness to obtain the good things which are laid up in store for those who love God. One very important way for him to live the Christian life, one of his most favorite themes in all of his preaching is almsgiving. Let's listen to what he says about, this is in the very next homily on 1 Corinthians, verse 16:1. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I gave order to the churches of Galatia, so also do ye. What then, O Paul, did you give an order about? On the first day of the week, that is, the Lord's day, yes, let each of you treasure up, thesorizo in Greek, treasure up something to give, according as you are prospering materially. Notice how Paul even exhorts them about the proper time, kairos, for offering their gifts. For indeed, that day, the Lord's day, was sufficient in itself to lead them to almsgiving. Call to mind, he is saying, all the things you attained on that day, Sunday, how all the ineffable blessings, that which is the root and beginning of our very life in Christ, took place on that day. Of course, the resurrection, right? Preeminently, yeah? And not only does all of this make this day so opportune for zealous almsgiving, but also because this day provides us with time for rest from toils. And souls, when free from labors, become more apt and ready to bestow mercy. Moreover, communing on that day in the Eucharistic mysteries on Sunday, so tremendous and immortal as they are, those gifts, that instills in us great zealousness. Accordingly, on this day, Paul says, let each one of you, not merely this one or that one, but each one of you, whether poor or rich, whether woman or man, whether slave or free, treasure up something to give. Paul did not say, let him bring his gift into the church, lest he might feel ashamed due to the smallness of his gift. Rather, Paul is saying, let each one gradually accumulate what he desires to give, and then produce your offering when I come. For now, treasure it up at home. Make your home a church. It's one of the several times he uses that phrase. Make your little alms box a treasury. Become a guardian of sacred wealth. Be a self-ordained steward for the poor. Autokeratonitos, self-ordained. Having this alms box at home to fill and then present to the church. Yes? Your benevolent disposition assigns you this priesthood. Your alms box at home is, of your alms box at home, this larger one here in church is a sign, but it's only a sign if it does not receive the offering you are storing up to put in it. Now I am aware, he goes on, that many of you in this assembly will again find fault with me for speaking of these topics. I know some of you are saying, quote, do not, I beseech you, O preacher, don't be burdensome to us. Don't be oppressive to your listeners. Make allowance for their free will. Let them decide for themselves. For now you are disgracing us. You're making us blush with shame. John says, but I will not put up with such words. For Paul was not ashamed to be continuously troublesome regarding such topics as this. He was not reluctant to employ such words of importunity as beggars use. I do grant you that if I said, give it to me, or lay it up in my house, there might be something I could be ashamed of. But even in that case, he says, we read that those who wait upon the altar have their portion with the altar. Still, he goes on, someone might find fault with me if he thinks I'm saying these things in order to promote my own interest. But it is for the poor that I make my supplication. Yet really, I do so not so much for the sake of the poor as for your own sake. And he explains that at length in other places, how it's more beneficial for the giver, really, than those who receive. This is why I am bold to speak out in this way. For what shame is there in saying, give to your Lord in his time of hunger? Put raiment on him as he goes about naked. Receive him when you see him homeless. Your Lord was not ashamed to speak out to the whole world when he who has no lack of anything, he who has need of nothing, when he said, I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. So am I to be ashamed and shrink back? Away with this thought. For to me, to feel ashamed of exhorting you to give alms would be a snare of the devil. No, I will not be ashamed. Rather, I will say, and say boldly, give to the needy. I will say it with a louder voice than the needy themselves. Certainly it's true that if anyone can show and prove in my saying these things that under the pretense of helping the poor I am drawing you over to myself in order to make some gain for myself, such a course would be worthy, I say not of shame only, but even of 10,000 thunderbolts, and life itself would be more than such persons would deserve. But if, on the contrary, by the grace of God, we are doing none of this for our own gain, and if we have given the gospel unto you without charge, indeed not laboring with my hands as Paul did, but still being content with what I have, hence, with all boldness I will say, give to the needy. I will do so shamelessly, just as if I were a general having soldiers under me. I would not be ashamed to demand food for them. Yes, I will not cease to say this, and I will be a severe accuser of those who do not give, for I will speak vehemently to you for your salvation. The next passage concerns comportment at church. He's talking about the prayer for the catechumens. It's so much in place already by the late 4th century. Why have I said all this? To teach you that we ought to seek to bring benefit to others, and hence, so that you, the faithful, will not think it's of no concern to you when the prayers for the catechumens are being said in the liturgy. For surely it's not to the walls that the deacon says, let us pray for the catechumens. But some of you are so mindless, so lazy, so oblivious, that you stand and converse not only during the time of the prayers for the catechumens, but also during the prayers for the faithful. Wow. Hence, everything is perverted. Everything is utterly ruined. For at the very time when we ought most to be propitiating God, we suffer injury by having provoked him. In the prayers of the faithful, we are bidden to approach the God who loves mankind on behalf of bishops and priests and kings, for all those in authority, for earth and sea, for the seasons, for the whole world. But when we, who ought to have such boldness before God as to supplicate for others, are not even alert in praying for ourselves, how can we excuse ourselves? How can we find pardon? Wherefore, I beseech you that having all these things in mind, you would all recognize the time of prayer and be lifted up, and becoming disengaged from the earth, you would touch the vault of heaven itself. Thus will we have the power to make God gracious, and we will obtain the promised good things, which may it be we all attain. Quite remarkable when the Grand Chamberlain, Eutropius, suddenly falls from favor, and he seeks sanctuary in the church. He's clinging to the altar for dear life. This is the scene, the setting for these words. Who was more exalted than this man? Did he not surpass the entire world in wealth? Had he not ascended to the very pinnacle of distinction? Did not everyone tremble before him and fear him? Yet behold, he has become more wretched than those in bonds, more pitiable than household slaves, more indigent than paupers wasting away with hunger. Every day he has a vision of sharpened swords, a criminal's grave, and the public executioner leading him out to his death. He does not even know whether he once enjoyed past pleasures. He's not even aware of the sun's rays. His sight is so dim that at midday it's as if he were encompassed with the darkest night. Yet however much we may strive, it's impossible for us to adequately describe his suffering, which he is naturally enduring because of his expectation of being put to death at any hour. But indeed, what need is there of any words from us when he himself has depicted his agony before us as if in an engraved image? Yesterday, when they came to him from the imperial court, intending to drag him away by force, he fled to this holy altar. His face was then, just as it is now, no better than of one already dead. The chattering of his teeth, the quaking and quivering of his whole body, his faltering voice, his stammering tongue, indeed his entire appearance, make it look as if his soul has turned to stone. I am saying these things not to reproach him, but to insult, or to insult his misfortune, but I do so wishing to soften your disposition towards him, to incline you to mercy, and to persuade you to be content with the punishment that has already come upon him. Since it seems there are many inhumane persons among us who would likewise bring accusation against us for receiving this man into the sanctuary, I desire to soften their heartlessness by shedding light upon the depths of his suffering. Tell me, beloved brother, what are you distressed about? You say it's because he who continually made war against the church has taken refuge within her? Yet surely we ought to glorify God, most especially for permitting him to be subjected to such need, so that he might learn both the power of the church and her love for mankind. Her power, in that he has suffered this great reversal of fortune because of his attacks against her. The great irony is he had tried to strip the church of her right to provide sanctuary for people fleeing there. Supreme irony. Yeah. And of course, all the people know that. And for her love for mankind, in that she whom he attacked now casts her shield in front of him, receiving him under her wings and placing him in all security, not resenting anything that he did against her, but rather opening her bosom unto him with great love. This is more brilliant than any kind of trophy. This is an illustrious victory. This shames the Greeks and disgraces the Jews. This shows the brightness of the church's face, in that having received her enemy as a captive, she spares him. And when everyone has despised him in his desolation, only she, as a mother filled with tender love, has concealed him under her cloak, over against the wrath of the king, the rage of the people, and their unbearable hatred. So do not hold a grudge Oh man, we are the servants of the crucified one who said from the cross, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's the time I could read more. I could read all day. What do you think? Are you getting a sense of his love for his people and their love for him?
Which figure was it that was grasped?
That's Eutropius.
Eutropius.
Yeah. In the NPNF, there's 2 sermons about Eutropius.
What was his fate in the end?
The church was able to protect him at least for a while, and the emperor showed mercy at first, and he was exiled, but then not too long afterwards he was brought back and executed. But the hearts of his own people were, I cut it off, but he says, have I melted your hearts for this poor man? And then he says, yes, I can see I have. I can see by the tears streaming from your eyes. So, oh, gosh.
So his efforts to eliminate sanctuary as a practical reality were nullified by his own sanctuary?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Should I go ahead and read the last one I have? Since this one is after his first exile, and again it shows his remarkable magnanimity. I think the enlargement of his heart, to not hold any grudge against Eutropius. Here he's not holding any grudge against the empress, whom he well knows had a big role in that first deposition and exile. Miraculously, maybe the empress had a miscarriage. Not quite sure. The biographer says there was a shaking in the bedroom. Whatever it was, she is suddenly convinced she did the wrong thing in exiling John. So this is what he says as he's back in Constantinople. In this I rejoice, not just that you, my flock, have conquered. For if I had been present, I would have had a part with you in the victory. But since I was away, your trophy is manifest as entirely yours. Yet, this is the basis for my praise for you, in which I have a share with you in the victory, for you shone forth such nobility even in the absence of your father, just as valiant athletes who demonstrate their prowess in the absence of their trainer, so you, in the absence of your teacher, you have shown forth the nobility and comeliness of your faith. What more can I say? The very stones cry out, and the walls give voice. Go to the imperial palace, and you will hear, oh, those people of Constantinople. Go to the seaside, to the desert, to the mountains, to each house. There your praise is recorded. How did you conquer? Not with engines of war, but with faith. Oh, people who love their teacher. Oh, people who love their father. Blessed is this city, not because of her columns and golden roofs, but because of your own virtue. Such were the plots, but you conquered through prayer. And naturally so, for your prayers were lengthy, and fountains of your tears poured forth. They had spears while you had tears. They had anger while you had meekness. They tried to enforce their own will. You prayed for God's will to be done. Where now are those who opposed you? Did we brandish weapons? Did we stretch out the bow? Did we hurl spears? No, we only prayed, and they fled. They were scattered like a spider's web, while you stood firm like a rock. I am blessed through you. Before now, I knew I had a great amount of wealth because of you, but now I marvel at you even more. We were far away. The city was moved. The sea became a city, all for me, one man. Women, men, very young children, women with their nurslings, daringly braved the sea, despising the waves. Here he's talking about how when they heard he was coming back, they streamed out in boats to meet him as he's coming back. Made the sea a city, see. Despising the waves. Servants did not fear their master, ... The marketplace became a church. All of this because of us. To whom have we not given instruction through our example? You have received even the empress into your dance. I have not hidden her zeal. I do not say these things to punish her, but to foster her piety. I have not hidden her zeal. She has not taken weapons in hand, but rather righteous deeds. The empress had sent a letter, and he's going to tell his people then some of what that included. Our empress sent a letter to me with these words, he says, that you should know of. Quote, I was not aware of your sanctity, which events that have just happened have made known to me. I am innocent of your blood, for evil and corrupt men were the ones who engineered the plot. God is witness to my tears, this God whom I serve. John says, what libation did she pour out? Her tears were her libation, this God whom I serve. Hence, she is a priestess, serving God with her own hands, offering forth her tears and confession and repentance, not for herself, but for the church, for the scattered people. She remembered her own children and their baptism, for she also wrote, quote, I remembered that my children were baptized by your own hands. Such was the conduct of our empress, who, while the priests out of envy sent me into exile, she did not even know the place where I was being sent. But wonderful to relate, she trembled for me as if for one of her own children, and looked everywhere for me, not doing so herself, but the soldiers whom she sent after me to find me, they were looking. She was trying to thwart the possibility that my enemies would even slay me, for they had spread out far and wide, seeking to destroy me. Then on her knees, she besought the emperor, clutching him, asking him to rescue me from their clutches, just as Abraham rescued Sarah from the clutches of the barbarian king. She cried, we have lost our bishop. We must have him recalled. We will have no hope of retaining our royal authority if we don't have him returned. She's saying all this to her husband, the emperor. We must have nothing more to do with those who perpetuated this crime against John. Her tears kept falling as she kept beseeching God that her goal would be attained. You yourselves know how much benevolence we have received from her, how she has taken us into her own embrace. Imagine, he's so positive towards her after knowing what she had done to get him into exile. How she has spoken up for you, hastening to assist you. And she did not forget your goodwill towards her, for you extolled her as the mother of the churches, a provider for the monasteries, a protector of the saints, a staff of the poor. Her praise is the glory of God, the crown of the churches. Have I mentioned her fervent love? Have I spoken of her kind liberality towards me? Yesterday, in the depths of the night, she sent messengers to me with these words, tell him that my prayer is full. I have done the right thing. I have a better crown than the royal diadem, for I have called back our bishop. I have given him back. I have given back the head of the body, the pilot of the ship, the shepherd of the flock, the bridegroom of the nuptial chamber. What will I do in order to repay you with a reward worthy of your love for me? Speaking to his people. I am not able to give anything worthy, but what I have, I give, for I love to readily pour out my blood for your salvation. So I really think one big reason he's so central in our church life, the love he inspired for his people, how fervently he loved them. I'm a slave to your love. Wow. Yes, sir.
And the jealousy that he inspired in the imperial court.
Well, he says those priests, out of envy, that was a big thing that got him unjustly deposed.
I can't help but remember from my 50 plus years ago, or whatever, of Western civilization course in college, where they would talk blithely about Caesaro-papism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This doesn't look like Caesaro-papism. It looked like they were terrified of their bishop.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. I think his preaching he was so eloquent. You got a taste, I think, of his eloquence, right? It was a sensation. And I guess it's not too surprising some of the clergy would have been jealous.
Oh, and the empress.
And the empress, he never attacked her personally.
Right.
He talked about you heard it, some of that about luxuriousness and a pampered life. He would talk like that, of course, often. And maybe at some point she started to take it personally. But at first she didn't. She was right on board with everything. If we had more time, I would share another one of these sermons. When the Empress was attending an all-night vigil, a gift of relics had been made from a bishop in Italy, and relics of martyrs were incredibly precious. Hopefully they still are for us, but that was kind of a sensation to receive this gift. They had an all-night vigil. The Empress is there the whole time. And then they have a 9-mile procession from Hagia Sophia to a suburb where these relics were going to be permanently enshrined. And he preaches, the sun has risen, and the words he shares with the people then are in this volume as well. Marveling at the power of the relics and the power of and the scene, the sight of the Empress herself clinging to the casket for the 9 miles. 9 miles on foot, the Empress. He's in rapture, really, which makes it all the more poignant, the role that she did end up playing in the end, leading to his second exile and last. Yeah.
At what point did he give the famous sermon where he said it again? Herodias asked for John's head on a platter.
That was
supposedly like a slight at her.
Yeah. She had erected a statue of herself that was across from the entrance of the great church. So he is famous for saying that. Again, Herodias dances. Again, the head of John is being asked for. That was before the second exile. Yeah. His biographer, PAIDEIA-A, predicted that those who were most responsible for his exile would die miserable deaths. And both the Empress and her husband, they were only in their 20s. They died young. Yeah. Yes, Father Ambrose, great to see you. Yeah.
What was the biggest aspect of his spiritual development to acquire such material love? Where do you equate that to? The influence in his life?
His mother, for one thing. I mean, she's a saint in our church, Saint Anthusa. And his dad had died when he was very young. So his mother raised him in the love of Christ.
To say, shed my blood, I mean, that, he really meant that.
He meant it. He meant it. Yeah.
That's no small thing.
No small thing. Yeah. And he wanted to go into monastic life when he fully gave himself back to Christ after his great training with Libanius, the pagan orator. And his mother begged him. She said, "Please don't make me a widow a second time." So you can sense the relationship they had. Yeah.
So in essence, his martyric love for his mom at the beginning then led to the flock.
I think so. I think so. He waited until she died to go then pursue the monastic life. And then, of course, it's only because he overextended himself in his asceticism, he injured his stomach. That's what brought him back into the city of Antioch, his hometown. And his biographer is thanking God. I mean, you know, God can use all things for the good. That's what brought him back in to serve the church in Antioch. Yeah, sorry.
If you're faithful over little things will make you ruler over many things. So that faithfulness of that one relationship, right,
Yeah.
then expanded.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Anything else?
You know, you could hear the construction, like we all know it, the Paschal sermon, right?
The Paschal sermon, of course.
We all know that, but you can kind of hear it. That's probably the most familiar
Yeah,
thing we
right.
have. And you're reading some of these other things, I'm thinking it sounds like the way he constructed the sentences, question, answers, declaration,
Yeah,
boom, boom,
yeah,
boom, boom,
yeah.
right? It's like, I'm sure that if somebody really studied his sermons, you could come up with kind of the motif of construction, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It would be beneficial for us who could copy it.
He was a master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must have been extraordinarily valuable, though, for him to have been trained by a pagan rather than a Christian.
Yes.
Because that
One of the best.
he was going to be able to address a populace that was still heavily ensconced with all of that.
Yeah. Because the whole society was far from being all entirely Christianized in his time. It was getting that way. But
But definitely literate, 'cause can you imagine
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
anyone listening to a speech like that today?
Hmm.
I mean, half the audience would not comprehend it. It's true.
his vocabulary is rich. He uses words
And
just.
people actually went out to listen to
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that.
They did. Yeah.
It's not done anymore.
Yeah.
Is it true that he simplified his delivery?
Well, that's the story. The woman said, you sound wonderful, but you're so lofty. Please speak to us in words we can understand.
Oh, what
But-
about that? I didn't know about that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what we're reading is the way it was delivered or not?
No,
Was it?
yeah, this is how he sounded. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
This is the
I'm
lower
sure.
version.
This, but see, that's what this is. He brought it down to the common people,
Oh,
which we marvel at this advanced vocabulary and the long sentences
in
and.
other words, what we're reading, is that the common version or is it? another
Early
version?
on in his rhetorical career, right? He was very elaborate, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's the story.
What's the story?
That he had more elaboration, let's say, more elaborateness maybe, in his preaching.
Okay, so what we're talking about is he shaved his sermons down, but he didn't change the context.
No, just so they would be more readily
Okay.
understood.
So
Yeah.
maybe his sentences became shorter and simpler.
And maybe more of that questioning. You say this, dot, 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 back and forth.
Yeah.
Tell me, oh man, why are you upset? Dot, dot, dot. Yeah. Yeah. I love how his sermons were taken down by stenographers. And I just always marvel at how they got every little jot and tittle, all the conversational style. It's all there.
They had multiple ones, right? They compared their notes after or something.
We don't even know the editorial,
Asides and stuff even.
even the asides. Yeah, right. It's all there.
Do we know if it was extemporaneous?
I'm sure it was. I'm just sure it was. Which added to the marvel.
So the famous Paschal homily, though, that we are all familiar with on the Easter, at night,
Yeah.
that's compressed, short, direct. It doesn't bob and weave. I mean. the
Well, he
other
could do that
sermons
too, if he
are
needed to,
quite
I think.
long.
Yeah.
A lot of the fathers, their festal homilies, you might notice, are always a lot shorter.
Okay.
Because it's a feast day, it's supposed to be brighter, more, like, that's why you look at a lot of the festival homilies, like collections,
say John Chrysostom's liturgy on feast days instead of St. Basil's.
Yeah, because it is a bit shorter.
It's special.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
counterintuitive to us. We think special days.
Yeah,
are
yeah.
bigger. Yeah.
But that's a good point. Was it edited over time, or was that the exact
I
homily?
mean, it was just so extraordinarily compressed and to the point.
It is.
And yet had all of the elegance of the other.
Yeah.
It's just, if he consciously did that on the fly, that's an amazing miracle.
Yeah.
Because the tendency, if he was doing this, after being exhausted with the whole.
All the
Holy
serving.
Week, and then, okay, I still have a little bit of energy, and here it comes, Wow.
Marvelous.